I got 5 A stars in my A levels, and this is the ultimate guide on how you can too. Make sure you sit down, get comfortable, get a drink, and save this video for later. A levels are standardized exams. If you can crack the code in A levels, you can get the best grades. I got over 90% in every single one of my A levels. It's because I basically began to think like an examiner. And you can too. The way in which you think like an examiner, just think about it. They know all of the content inside out, but they also know how to answer exam questions, how to award marks in exam questions, how to look at an answer and know how many marks it has got. And you need to be able to do that. It's so important, especially in essay-based subjects. This is why, first thing I need to say, the specification, the examiner's reports, and the mark schemes are your best friends. By knowing the specification inside out, literally just knowing all the content on it, and then knowing how to structure your answers in an exam in a timely manner, knowing how to mark an exam question, how can you do badly? You can't do badly. You will be able to look at your answer. You will be able to look at your essay by the end of your A levels and pick out exactly where you've got marks. That is the same for any standardized exam, so like GCSEs for example. You just need to know how you crack the code. But at the same time, you need to know the content, and A levels are incredibly content dense. You need to know all of this content, and in order to make it stay in your brain, you need to get it into your long-term memory. This means consistent revision from the start of year 12. If you do something in like October in year 12 and then you don't look at it again until May in your A levels, there's no way you're going to remember it. You need to be consistently reviewing and revising content from the very start. This also means giving up some of your frees. Sure, of course, it's fine to make friends in your frees and go and do things with your friends in your frees, but you really do need to focus on doing additional work outside of sixth form, outside of your lessons. Utilising your frees is a great way to do this because you kind of just go into sixth form 8 or 9 AM and then you don't leave until 4 PM. You've done a whole day of studying, even if you've just had one lesson. And say it with me, consistency is better than intensity. I always use the gym example. Going to the gym and doing 84-hour-long sessions is so much better than going to the gym for 12 hours a day for 1 week. Going consistently over a longer period of time, you're going to see better results than if you just cram nearer to the exams. Will be so much more effective for getting into your long-term memory. Your memory is a muscle. Take your mocks seriously. Like I said, it's all about getting the marks in the exam. But to get the marks in the exam, you need to be able to work under time conditions and you need to be able to effectively revise when it is exam season, which is going to be very different to how you revise in like November or January. You need to treat your mocks like a real exam so that you can know how you've got an exam on one day, you've got one on the next. How do you revise between them? What do you do in your morning? What's your morning routine? What study methods do you use? What works for you? You need to practice it so that when you do your real exams, it's not like a slap in the face. You actually have sort of experienced that environment. Additionally, obviously your mocks give you your predicted grades. Your predicted grades can help you get into better university courses. It's incredibly important to really treat your mocks like the real exam. And then in terms of revising, like I said, you need to be doing some sort of review of content throughout your A levels. It's not enough to just start revising in like April. You need to be consistently revising week on week, making sure you understand everything, not getting behind in anything. And when you're reviewing content, when you are studying, you need to be incorporating active recall techniques. I've got so many videos on that, so check the playlist for that. Additionally, you need to be learning what strategies work for you. This will depend on the kind of learner you are. Are you a visual learner? Are you an auditory learner? Are you a kinesthetic learner? Read write learner? Most people are a mixture of the different types of learners. For example, I'm a visual learner, but kinesthetic strategies work for me. You can only really know if you try out the different methods. And you've got plenty of time to do that because you've got plenty of revision and revising that you need to do over the course of the 2 years. You can implement different revision strategies. Maybe one day you'll try and listen to your notes. That's an auditory strategy. Maybe one day you'll try memorization by association, a kinesthetic strategy. Lots of time to try the different strategies and figure out what works for you. And when you figure out what works for you, this makes your revision 10 times more effective and so much more productive. A levels are the first time in your life you are given a large degree of freedom, and you need to use that privilege to your advantage. You need to plan. Planning is so important. Knowing what you're going to be studying in a study session, or what you're going to be focusing your revision on in a week in each subject. Rule of thumb is that outside your lesson, or my sixth form always said, outside lessons you need to be doing 4 hours of additional revision per subject. This is on top of your homework, this is on top of your classes. This is additional 12, 16, 20 hours a week of work that you need to slot into your timetable. Perfect thing is that you have the freedom to put that wherever you want. You're not bounded by the school day anymore. You can do it whenever. But with freedom comes responsibility, and you really need to use that to your advantage. Planning is so important, planning what you're doing within a specific revision session, having clear, actionable, smart goals. I have a video on SMART goals and they're really, really helpful for when you're doing your A-levels. Again, just check my playlist for that. And what I did that I found really helpful was using my mornings. People kind of forget that your school day usually starts at 8 or 9 a.m. They don't realise is you can wake up at 6 a.m. and get another hours of work done. That every day is an additional 5 hours. Most people don't realise until they start incorporating this into their routine, but I'm the most productive in the morning. It's just the way that a lot of people's brains work. I'm really not productive late in the evening, but I find it easier to work in the morning. I really do use your mornings and develop that morning routine. If you're consistently studying for even 30 minutes every morning, it makes such a huge impact on your grades. Those marginal gains have such a huge difference. Like I said, our brains like routine, they like repetition, and if you're doing it again and again and again, you kind of get used to it. It feels like less work. And the concept of a little minute. You have got intervals in the day of like 10, 15, even 5 minutes where you will be wasting your time otherwise, like literally just doom scrolling. This could be when you're waiting for the bus, when you're on the bus, and a lot of people get the bus to sixth form. In this time, use your time wisely to be doing some online flashcards, or maybe listening to your notes, or listening to a podcast, or reading a book. Something that is not just completely a waste of your time, like doom scrolling. If you do this consistently, cumulatively throughout the day, we usually have about an hour of this time that we just stack up minute on minute. It's like, oh, 1 minute there, 2 minutes there, 5 minutes there, and it really does stack up. So if you're making use of your time in these minutes, you are actually going to seriously improve your grades and you're going to be way more productive. If you know all the content, if you know the mark scheme inside out, know how to think like an examiner by utilising those examiners' reports, there is no way you can do badly in your A-levels. And it is how I did so well in my A-levels. It is like a code you can crack. It's a standardised exam. There's nothing they can throw at you that is going to be completely out of the blue if you do enough practice. If you like this video, then click the link in my bio for a full-length YouTube video on this and follow for more daily A-level study tips.